This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Hello, good morning, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we're your hosts. I'm Grace.
And I'm Alexis.
And we're back with another Inspector Gadget episode. I almost just said Jabberjaw because we were just talking about Jabberjaw.
No, it's chaotic enough over here. We don't need more chaotic Jabberjaw.
We can't invite him back into our lives. But I mean, I don't know. Inspector Gadget's pretty bumbling and chaotic too, but not in quite the same way. But I could see him and Jabberjaw getting along.
They would actually. You know, they kind of talk similarly too, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Jabberjaw's definitely smarter for a shark. He's smarter than this cyborg man.
Yeah, that's not saying that much. That's a pretty accurate.
What instrument, if he were in the Neptunes, what instrument do you think Inspector Gadget would play?
I think Inspector Gadget would want to play like the oboe or something like weird.
Obscure.
Yeah, obscure. But like he would be so bad at it. I mean, we talked about in the opera episode how horrible of a singer he is. So like the Neptunes would be like, oh, hey, yeah, we're going to give you like an electric oboe. And then they would never plug it into the amp.
Yeah, exactly. And he would think he's killing it. But
exactly.
That's probably it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's correct. And
Penny, I don't know if I could pinpoint a specific one, but I agree with that line of thought. Like, it would be something that like nobody else ever plays in a band, especially.
So it doesn't fit into a rock band.
Or like, what are those? Have you seen the like keyboards that have like a mouthpiece that you blow into? I don't even know what they're called.
That's what he plays because it comes like out of his like forearm or something, and the straw comes up.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what he plays. And again, they don't give him a mic or plug it in or anything.
Plug it in.
Like,
exactly.
You can't be in this
They
band.
Don't even tell him which stage they're performing on. You're like, if he shows up, he does. He's unplugged anyways, so.
It doesn't matter at all. They put him behind the shell that Jabber's always drumming in.
Yeah, the like drum or the backdrop. Were you going to say what Penny plays too? Or what you think she would play? I was going to ask
what you thought she played.
I feel like she would actually just be the band manager. Like she would be like, I don't have time to actually be on stage. I'm actually trying to solve a mystery here.
Yes.
But if not that, then it would be like bass guitar or something.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I could see Brain being bass guitar. And Penny
that's true. Yeah, because he's
manager.
got like, Brain's got more of the like soul. And
exactly.
Like that, that vibe. So you're probably right.
All right, this is an important analysis.
That was a nice crossover. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So with that, I'll let you take it away and do your episode now.
Well, on that note, this episode has nothing at all to do with Jabberjaw or with the band.
I thought you were going to say a band. And I was like, what if it did? That would have been amazing.
No, it doesn't. No, not at all.
Great.
I am trying to think. I guess there is a band at some point in this, but I mean, that was just a random thought that we had. So welcome. Good morning, everyone. But so even though this episode doesn't have to do with that random thought, there was another kind of random thought that I thought of while typing this script and putting all of this together.
Okay.
And it was because I was re-listening to our first few episodes too. And I realized that there was one person in the voice cast that we forgot to mention.
Oh.
Yes. And it is, of course, Penny, right?
Oh,
and so we'll get to that in just a second. But because while I was researching the voices for her, I noticed another interesting, like, kind of production note about some other voices. You briefly mentioned in your first episode that we've got Frank Welker, obviously, in this show, right? Well, apparently, there are 4 episodes of this overall series. I think actually just in the original run, the first 2 series that or seasons that we're covering right now, where Frank Welker actually does not voice Dr. Claw. And he's instead voiced by an actor named Don Franks. And the episode that I'm doing today is one of those 4 episodes. And it's apparently the 4th and final episode where Don Franks voices Dr. Claw. And so I'm listening to it and I'm like, Dr. Claw does not sound like the Cave of Wonders right now.
What's Grace talking about?
Grace, what's wrong? But no, because I had still seen the episode that you did. So I was just like, why is Frank
What's
changing
happening?
his voice up this late in the game? This is
Right, what a
season
choice.
2, episode 10 I'm covering today. What is he doing? Or sorry, episode, or no, that's next week. Season 1, episode 28 is what I'm
Yeah,
covering
still
today.
late in the game
But
to change
still
it up.
late in the game. Exactly. So I was like, Frank, what are you doing, buddy? And then I
Good
looked it
choice.
up and I saw, okay, never mind. This is a different actor. So Don Franks, who I hadn't really heard of before, I
Yeah.
looked him up and I saw he's actually in, or he was in quite a few shows that I did watch growing up.
Oh.
Like he was in some of the X-Men animated shows. He was in
Mm.
the Silver Surfer show, which is another like Marvel comic
Yeah.
animated spinoff. And apparently he was in a few like Star Wars shows back in the 80s too,
Oh.
like the Block Show and one other one. Yeah, so I was
Oh.
like, huh, okay, because like the voice did weirdly sound familiar to me, but I
Yeah.
knew it wasn't Frank Welker at the same time.
Yeah.
But what's
And
even cooler, oh yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say really quick, and I think I like vaguely remember that like maybe it was Don Franks too that like did the pilot episode of Dr. Claw, and they were like,
Maybe.
nah, it's not
Mm,
landing. And so they brought Frank Welker
yeah,
in instead, but I think like kept but it could have been someone else too, not Don Franks. It could have been another actor that they were like,
yeah.
we let you do the pilot. It's not gonna work.
It's
And then I
not
think they like
quite.
called him in a couple times where Frank Welker couldn't do it. So maybe that was Don Franks too. That they were
Yeah.
like, you already kind of know the character. All right, just get in here for a
Just
couple.
get back in here. And I
Yeah.
would be interested to know, like, if there's any way to look this up, like, what was wrong with Frank Welker in those few episodes that he couldn't do? Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if there
Was
was
it
like a scheduling thing,
scheduling?
or if, I don't know if he was sick or just what happened. But it seems
Yeah.
like if it was a scheduling thing, I feel like they could have. It was only 4 episodes, and it was over the course of both
Yeah.
seasons. So I feel like they could have shuffled around, maybe,
Yeah.
or I don't know. So
Who
I just think that's
knows?
interesting that out of like how many, like 60 something episodes of this,
Yeah.
only 4 of them are Dr.
Right.
Claus
And they're like
voiced
not
by
like
this
in a
other guy.
row. It's like this
No,
one, that one, that
random,
one.
all over. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like
Who
it is
knows?
almost like Frank Welker was like he called in sick one day and they're like, Don,
Yeah.
get in here. We got to do this
Everyone
today.
else is in the studio. Come on.
Yeah. So, what's even cooler though about Don Franks is that he ended up becoming the father to a daughter who would follow in his footsteps and who would work with him on this very show and in this very episode, obviously, where he
Oh.
is the voice of Dr. Claw. And that is the actress Cree Summer, who voices Penny in season 1
Oh.
of Inspector Gadget, but not season 2.
Oh, she also got the
So
cut.
she got the cut
Just like
too. I
her
guess
dad did.
when her dad got the cut, she got the cut too. It
She'd
was
already
like, all
done
right,
all of the Penny voices for
I'm
the first
taking my
season.
daughter with me. Yeah. But Cree Summer is also, she's another goat in the voice acting world. So she
Oh.
voiced Susie Carmichael in the Rugrats,
What?
Miranda and Is Told by Ginger,
Oh, I was told by Ginger.
Number 5 and Codename Kids Next Door, and then
What?
like and just like literally thousands of other shows, including our next show, just like a random. She has a few
No
guest
way.
appearances, yes, which we
Oh,
won't spoil,
funny.
obviously. And like yeah, a bunch of video games, and then I don't know if you have ever watched Abbott Elementary. Like the slightly
Oh, I've
newer
heard of
show
it.
on like
Yeah.
yeah ABC and Hulu. She is the librarian on that show now too.
Wow. Wait, how do
So
you
like
spell her
live
name? Is it
action video games.
Cree?
Cree. Yeah, Cree Summer. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
What?
so she's another
Cree.
one where it's like any show that you can think of watching in your
She's
childhood, she's
probably.
probably been in it. Like she maybe just had a quick like background voice role or something here and
Wow.
there, but she's been like main characters in a lot of shows too. So it's just interesting because Penny is her very first voice acting role.
Oh,
So when you're
funny.
listening, I'm like, that doesn't sound like her at all to me, but it's because she was probably like 6 years old, 8 years old or something. And I
Yeah,
don't
she was
sound
a
the same
child.
now as I did at age 8. So
Yep.
it's just interesting. It's like, I can't believe that's her.
Whoa, that's
And
wild.
yeah, which is why like I didn't really think about it until I was working on the audio from our first episode of this arc.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh, wait, shoot, we didn't talk about Penny's voice actress. And then I went back and looked it up, like, oh my God, that's right. I totally forgot because it
that's
doesn't
so
sound like her at
funny.
all.
Yeah,
And
no,
Cree
I had like
Summer has
seen
a
the
very
name.
distinctive, like raspy kind of voice. Like
Oh,
if
not
you
the name.
remember, if you remember Miranda from Is Told by Jen, it's like a very just like raspy
Yeah.
voice, and she talks. Yeah, like that probably sounded more annoying than it really is, but
Sure.
like you know when you hear her in the
Yeah,
show. And so for this, I was like, that doesn't sound like her at all because she was like
that's so funny. A
very,
child.
very young. Yeah, a
Yeah.
literal child. So
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
she
so
does it
cool.
all.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
like seeing
another
her
deep
name on
cut.
the Wikipedia, but I was like, oh, I don't know if I know that name. So I just like, and
Yeah,
I'd seen that like she was like a daughter of someone on the show, and I was like, okay, whatever.
yeah.
Boop, boop, boop. But I
Cool.
didn't like click on it
Probably
to
a
look
Nepo
into it.
baby.
Yeah.
Uh,
Literally, she was a
no,
baby.
she's not. Yeah, she was. And I mean, yeah, her dad probably did help her get the job, but it's okay because she
Yeah.
has talent in her own right.
Yes.
And yet another plug for people to like, comment, subscribe, and tell her
Tag
that
her in
we're
it.
talking about her, tag her, we're talking about all these goats of the voice acting world.
Yes, she counts as
So,
one for sure.
yeah, she does indeed. So, yeah, anyways, on that note,
Cool.
so I kind of hinted that today I'm going to be talking about season 1, episode
Mhm.
28 of Inspector Gadget. And this episode is called The Cuckoo Clock Caper.
Okay.
So, the episode begins with Gadget, Penny, and Brain arriving in good old neutral Switzerland
Okay.
for official business. And so they get there by train and they get off and they're kind of like waiting around for Chief Quimby to get there or to get Gadget's, not also Penny's,
Yeah.
dot,
Just gadgets.
assignment.
Wink.
Wink, wink. And while they're waiting to meet up with Chief Quimby, they decide to just do a quick little casual cutesy hike in the Swiss Alps.
Okay.
Natural.
Great.
And Gadget is, of course, while they're hiking, creating absolute chaos. He is like, his gadgets are going everywhere and he's creating avalanches. They're
Oh,
hiking
sir.
normal, right? He's flinging himself in snowballs over the mountain.
Oh
It's a
God. Okay.
mess. And in a at a certain point, he decides to take a hike on his own or kind of like go higher up the trail while Penny's like,
Penny's
I don't
like,
know, man.
well, you're ruining my vibe. Why don't you go by yourself,
Exactly.
Gadget?
And so when he's separated from the group, he obviously comes up upon several near-death moments. He cannot take care of himself,
No.
and he almost falls off of a cliff. But before he falls, a massive Saint Bernard runs up to save him. He's such a
Oh,
cute, good
the
boy. And this Saint
boy.
Bernard, it gives him a big old lick on the nose, and it helps him like reach back up so he can get off the edge of this cliff. And then the Saint Bernard steps back, stands up on two legs, and removes its face,
I was gonna say, is it smoking?
takes a hit of that pipe, a nice deep puff. And we see
Good.
that it is actually Chief Quimby
Yep.
in disguise. And yes, he did just lick Inspector
Yeah,
Gadget's
that was one of
nose.
my questions. Was like, did this
Yes,
like actually happen?
the lick actually happened.
Great.
And I had to do a double take. I was like, wait a minute. Did he just do what I think he
Quimby,
did?
Quimby, what are you doing?
Yes. So Quimby hands Gadget his assignment and he explains to him that Mad is in the area and they plan to steal the Swiss gold reserve.
Okay.
His mission is to safeguard the gold. And so Inspector Gadget, he heads back down the mountain and he since he created an avalanche, there
Just
is like
write
an
it down.
emergency crew out.
Oh.
So Penny and Brain pick him up by like evac helicopter.
They're like wrapped in the like reflective blankets.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, "Are you okay, Uncle Gadget?" And he's just like, "Yeah, come get me."
He's like, why wouldn't I be?
Yeah, it's like, "I'm good. I'm always fine. I'm
Everything's
indestructible."
fine.
So, yes, again, this main plan or plot by Mad is to steal Swiss gold reserve, the Swiss
Okay.
gold reserve. And in my mind, I'm like, like all of it, or just like
Yeah,
some
what do you mean Is
gold
this
reserve?
like
But like,
the whole country just has one vault
exactly.
of
And
gold?
this piqued my interest. So at this point, I hit pause and I said, "Hey,
Yes.
let's
Tell me.
let's do some research about the Swiss gold reserves
Let's
and
hear
thus
it.
the Swiss National Bank."
Okay.
And to add some perspective to this, again, remembering that we are talking about a show produced and written by a lot of French people
Oh,
and a
yep. Okay.
French company. So we're going to talk about a little bit of history as to why these French producers and writers maybe depicted some of these Swiss bankers in the way that they did,
Okay, yes. Great.
given some fraught history in Europe circa late 1930s to mid
Uh,
1940s.
perhaps.
So perhaps. So Anyways, before we get there, Switzerland, it currently maintains the world's eighth largest official gold reserves. And of
Okay.
course, this is all coming from Wikipedia and another page I found literally called Boyan Star, which I think Boyan is a translation for gold, maybe in
Oh,
French or something.
uh-huh.
And there's literally just a page on it called Learn About the Swiss National Bank Gold
Great,
Policies.
I will.
So, yeah, I will. Just to say, I did some research here, guys. I went to
Yeah,
two different
I
websites.
know, I'm impressed. Calm down.
Thank you. So I will take my what is it, like the Nobel Peace Prize for like economics now or some shit, like economic policy. I researched Swiss
Journalism,
gold.
economic
Give me my
policy,
medal. Yes.
breaking news.
Yes. So, anyways, yeah, they have the eighth largest official gold reserve in the world with
Okay.
holdings of 1,040 tons of gold, which is valued at
Yeah, what's that mean?
30.5 billion Swiss francs, aka 33.5 billion US
Wow,
dollars.
you had to do so many conversions for this. You
I
are an
did.
economist.
Thank you. You see, and just wait, there's like six more conversions in here. I had that
Okay.
calculator ready. I had to look it
Damn.
up. The US dollar is $1.10 to the Swiss franc. So, or I should say,
Whoa.
one Swiss franc is $1.10
Yes.
USD. Yeah. So,
Wow.
anyways,
A
give me my prize.
star.
Thank you. So the Swiss National Bank is the central bank of Switzerland, like
Okay.
how our Federal Reserve is here in the United
Yeah.
States. And the SNB is what it's called. It's responsible for the nation's monetary policy, and it is the sole issuer of Swiss franc banknotes. And the SNB is basically a corporation, actually. So unlike the
Classic.
Federal Reserve in America, where it's a government entity, the Swiss
Uh-huh.
bank is just straight up like a joint stock company where like shareholders can
Oh,
buy shares and
okay.
everything in it. Yep. Uh-huh. And so the Swiss
Bold.
National Bank was originally founded on October 6, 1905, under the Swiss National Bank Act. That
Okay.
act entered into law in January of 1906. And business at the bank started in June of 1907. So
Okay.
basically, it started in 1907. And not too long after that, obviously, the world entered a few different world wars,
A couple
and
little tussles here and
particularly
there.
in Europe, exactly. And so the Swiss bank, being such a large holder of gold, kind of had to, send some gold here and there and everywhere, both
Okay.
during the First World War and during the Second World War.
Interesting. Okay. Yes, the neutrality is
So,
interesting here. Okay.
yes. So the Swiss National Bank provided about 1.2 billion francs or 1.3 billion US dollars to the
Uh-huh.
Reich Bank, which during the
What
that
year?
time, what year? I didn't write down the exact year
Which
because I knew like the time frame. Let me like
which
double check and see if it
which
says
World
what year
War
it
was
actually
this?
started.
That
It
they gave
doesn't
this
say the
money.
actual year, but we can assume it was during like 1936 to
Ah, okay, that
1944-ish,
World
that
War. Got
general
it.
region. Yes.
It does
So
matter a little more which war. I mean,
it does.
not
And
great
like
neither, but
there's a certain word or political party name I could use, but I don't
let's
want
not.
YouTube to
We're not
like
flagging this
lower
shit.
this video. Exactly.
Yeah.
So basically, yes, the Reich Bank, for those who don't know, is the Bank of Germany, basically, like their federal bank. I don't think it is anymore. I think it was disbanded after 1945 for a certain reason. Um,
Oh,
and a
interesting, I
certain
think.
political party had control of this bank, obviously,
Uh-huh.
during World War II.
Yes.
And the Swiss National Bank did provide 1.2 or 1.3 US dollars worth of 1.3 billion US dollars
There's
worth of gold.
$123.
123, like take that.
Yeah,
See how far you can
we
get with
wouldn't be making
that.
fun of them then if that was the case here.
Yes.
The
But
opposite though. Okay.
of this 1.3 billion US dollars worth of gold,
Uh-huh.
a value of approximately $856 billion of
Uh-huh.
in US dollars of gold was given to the National Bank, and had believed to have been looted by German forces during the
Well,
war.
it's kind of
So
their thing.
stolen gold. And we can kind of assume who it was stolen from by
Yeah.
the Germans, knowing who they were
Yes.
conquering and
Yes.
what they were doing during that war. So,
Yes.
in addition, the National Bank also exchanged somewhere between 1.2 and 1.6 billion francs, or up to 1.8 billion US dollars for gold from the Allied forces. So they
Right.
did give,
Not
um,
that much more
like,
though.
not that much more.
1.2 to like 1.6, at
They
least bump
gave
it to
like
2 billion, y'all.
exactly like they gave like 40% to the Reich Bank, and they
Yeah.
gave like 50 whatever or 60% to the Allied forces. So it's like,
I guess they're like, we're neutral. We're gonna fund
yeah,
both sides instead of just staying out of
exactly.
it. We're choosing the
Yeah.
right
And I guess,
side.
and I shouldn't just say the Reich Bank either, because they did also take gold from the Italians as well that arrived from Como
Ah,
on April 20th, 1944, literally not
I
too
see.
long before everything ended.
I see.
So, yes, so there's
Wow.
controversy, so to speak, as we are obviously pooling here. There is
Uh-huh.
controversy over the role of the SNB in the transfer of German gold during World War II.
Wow. Interesting.
Had
Yes.
to had to edit that word out there.
Thank
The
you.
S&B, yes, the S&B was the largest gold distribution center in continental Europe before the war. And a study by the US Department of State in 1997 noted that the bank like basically had to have known that some portion of the gold it was receiving from the Reich Bank was looted from occupied countries. So
Yeah.
this was later confirmed by like an official Swiss commission that was looking into all of this, because they were like,
Uh-huh.
ooh, do we need to like return gold to people? Do we need to like apologize? Is there
I
some
mean,
sort of like,
yes.
yes, at a minimum, is there like some sort of policy we should instate to make sure that we're not taking money from like
Looted
terrorists and
country.
yeah,
Yeah.
horrible people ever again? Which it's a bank. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
They're all winking
Allegedly,
at
I
each
don't
other
know if
when they
they
say that.
instill that policy exactly. So, yes, that commission, that Swiss commission that was investigating all of this, concluded that the SMB received about $440 million in US dollars in gold from World War II German forces or sources,
Uh-huh.
of which $316 million is estimated to have been looted.
Okay, so most of it.
So most
It
of
was
it,
like when they were
exactly.
when they were like turning in the gold, they put like one gold bar on top that said like property of Germany, and then the
Germany
rest of
and
it was all looted. But they only looked
exactly.
at the top. They're like, "This is
They
good.
look at the top. Like, good, cool. That says it's the property of the Reich Bank or of Germany. But also,
No
it's
more
like,
questions.
okay, well, yeah, but they occupied countries.
No
So they're going to
more
say, okay,
questions."
you're right. You're right, Mr. Banker. You're right. I'm so sorry. Take their money. Take their
Yes, yes,
money.
right. I forgot we want money. Got it.
So the S&B, on the other hand, claims that they had no idea. They're like, no, 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 we took this gold and
So
we
what we
did
just
not
said
know
was true.
these facts exactly. Yeah.
Stolen?
And but they also admit though that they didn't really inquire at any great degree in the process or transfer of the possession of this gold. They're just
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, we'll take it. Thanks. Sure. So it's your gold,
It's good.
right?
Promise. You look
Promise.
trustworthy. You're famously
It's
trustworthy.
yours. Yeah. You
Promise.
guys are notoriously trustworthy men. Okay, so
Promise.
you,
Thank
you
you.
swear. Cool. So to this day, though, the S&B is demonstrably secretive about its gold activities, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they don't really tell too much to the public about where they keep the gold.
Mm.
They let you know how much there is, but I didn't put this in here. But in my reading, again, give me
Multiple
my
article
medal,
reading.
everybody. There was a large political movement in like 2014 about changing the Swiss constitution to alter the way that gold was distributed throughout the country, or to like change the
Okay.
mechanism of who actually owned it, the SNB versus like a more state-owned kind of system, or like giving it back
Uh-huh.
to the people. I guess like democratizing it in a sense, or
Yeah.
socializing it perhaps in a sense. Dot dot dot.
Gasp.
Oh no.
Double
And
gasp.
in response to that, the S&B was like, okay, maybe so like we obviously don't want that to happen. We want this to maintain to still be a private company that's holding all of
Uh-huh.
this, but under special regulations from the government. We don't want to democratize all of this shit.
Uh-huh.
Bankers want to keep their money, obviously, and their
Bakers want
wealth.
a bank.
So the bankers going to bank. So they decided that they would at least be a bit more transparent about it because they
Okay.
figured like, okay, maybe if we give them this, people will back off on this whole like ballot initiative, which did eventually fail anyway. So they never
Yeah.
amended their constitution. But even though the SMB is still secretive about its goal, they have become a bit more forthcoming since that whole political movement started 10 years
Uh-huh.
or 11 years ago. So what we do know about the gold, or what they have been willing to tell the public, is
Uh-huh.
that it is stored or believed to be stored in huge
Interesting.
vaults beneath the Federal Square in Zurich, I believe, or no,
Okay.
In Bern, Switzerland. And
Okay.
this is to the north of the Federal Parliament building. Yeah, in Bern. But the S&B is still like, I mean, it could be there, but like, I don't know where
Yeah.
exactly there, but that's one of the locations. But they have further said that the gold
Interesting.
reserves are stored in different safe
Yeah, I
places
was like, there's
throughout
one
Switzerland.
gold bar there. So they're like, we're not
We're
lying.
not lying. There is gold there.
Gold there.
It is a
Dot,
reserve
dot,
of like
dot.
it's like worth $1,000. It's like that's
Yeah.
$1,000 reserved in that exact vault.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no way the whole thing is, or even a large portion of it is right there.
Is in that one place, especially the one place that they're willing to tell you where it
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
Like, no, it's like
There's like a
under
pair of gold
the
earrings in there.
not even an
It's
ingot.
worth like 200
Exactly. Like
bucks.
just yeah, one ring.
Yeah.
Um, So yes, they say that the reserves are actually stored in different places, or different
Seems
safe
smart.
places throughout Switzerland. About 70% they say is under the or is in Switzerland, sorry, at like various places. And then the other 30%, I think they say is like abroad. So like the Bank of England has some, the Bank of Canada, I believe
Okay.
the US Federal Reserve has some of their gold or whomever. So they
Hmm.
spread the wealth out a little bit.
Okay.
And so while we may not know exactly where the gold in the real world is, Dr. Claw in this
Sadly.
world of Inspector Gadget does sure as hell know where this
Okay.
gold is. So, Mad, they already have, going back to Inspector Gadget here, they have the drop on Gadget and Quimby. As you know, they see them meeting at the top of this
Mm.
mountain. Probably like, why the fuck is Quimby
Why
dressed
is
as
there a
this? Did you just
dog?
lick Gadget's nose?
What is going on at this
What's
agency?
happening? But yes, Dr. Claw has goons and agents everywhere, and they're giving
Hmm.
him intel on everything. So they're informing him that Quimby and Gadget just met and letting him know that, hey, Dr. Claw, it's happening. They're here. You better get the plan going.
It's
So
happening.
it's happening. It's now. It's
Oh God, it's
happening.
happening.
Don't panic. Don't panic. So Dr. Claw today, he is working with a man that he calls the clockmaker,
Okay.
sometimes the cuckoo clockmaker.
Ah,
And this
very
guy,
Swiss of
it's
him.
an this is an old man with white hair, literally sticking out both sides, like straight out of the sides of
Classic.
his head, and a thin, or actually, it's kind of like a bushier mustache, but it's sticking straight out as well, like in
Okay.
either direction. And he's got these spectacles on, almost like the ones, that like a clockmaker or
Ah,
whatever would wear so
yes.
they can see all the little mechanisms and everything. And he has very like unfocused eyes. And by this, I mean that like his eyes are constantly darting all over the place. He's
Okay.
like constantly shaking his head and
Oh,
bouncing his
as if
head
he's
back
gone cuckoo.
as
As
if
if
he has
he has
gone.
flown over the cuckoo's nest. He is one
Yes,
who's
he
flown
is
over
the
the cuckoo's
one
nest.
who flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Ah,
Yes.
interesting.
And then when you like add his hair into it, it almost makes his face look like a clock with like his mustache sticking straight up and his
Oh,
hair sticking straight out. It's just kind of, they're
funny.
really going in on the theming of this
He's
villain here.
cuckoo.
He's
Get
cuckoo for clocks. So
it.
these two, along with their various goons, are not only keeping a close eye on Gadget here in Switzerland, but they are obviously, yes, as Chief Quimby said, trying to steal gold from the Swiss gold reserves.
Okay.
So
Sorry, really quick.
go ahead.
I
Yeah.
understand. I'm just still stuck on the fact that they're like, he's crazy, get it? Of like,
Hmm.
I feel like we maybe mentioned this very briefly in a previous episode, but like, how does Mad source their people? Like,
Yeah, what's the vetting
How
process?
did they find
And
this
like,
guy? And they
how
were
do they
like,
find these guys?
you
You.
seem stable enough to pull off an international heist.
No heist,
Let's
exactly.
go.
Let's do
Wondering
it.
what the oh, we talked about it of like who's an opera singer? Oh, that guy, get in here.
Oh,
That's what we
yes,
talked about
yeah,
as
just a couple weeks
goons.
out.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
was what I'm just wondering what his job application was like. Has he been there for like
Mhm.
ever and then, went mad and went cuckoo?
Yeah.
Is this his first job? And they're like, great, you're exactly who we want. I don't know, I just got
Yeah.
questions about their hiring practices.
I agree. And I am kind of confused on that because there are several episodes where it seems like it's just Dr. Claw and his goons. And then there are
Yeah.
several episodes where he is contracting out these like specialists, so to speak, who
Yeah.
can help him. But like they're also working with his goons. Sometimes those specialists have their own goons. So I'm like,
Yeah.
is Mad just Dr. Claw and he like hires people to do some stuff with them?
Yeah.
Is Mad actually all of these other? I don't know. To me, it seems like this is kind of a new working relationship. These two have not been. They're still getting to know each other,
You know,
still trying to figure out the proper workflow with one another. Things aren't
they don't have the project management system down yet.
exactly, not
You
yet.
know, I
Yeah.
wonder, actually, you saying that and pointing that out, because not in my next episode, but the one after that, there is an interesting working relationship that will maybe shed some light. So
Hmm.
it'll be my last episode of Inspector Gadget. But, we do often see that the goons get arrested and Dr. Claw just is like,
Doesn't.
bye. So maybe
Exactly.
that's why, like, Mad is really small, but he's just constantly having to hire new people because his people always get arrested.
Always get arrested. Yeah,
He
that's
is
honestly exactly
constantly,
it.
yeah, hiring new people.
And he's more than happy to sacrifice him. He just met them. He just
Yeah.
hired him, so he
They
doesn't
don't know
care.
you.
Throwing him, I don't
Yeah.
know you. Throw you under the bus. All right, time to get
Yeah.
a new specialist or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah. So maybe
yeah. I
that's
think we're
it.
going to see that a lot because my next episode after this has another specialist too, who's like, oh, I don't think he's a one-off. He might be in more than one episode, but
Yeah.
I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Where'd you get this guy
Find
from?
this guy.
The hell did you find this guy? I do imagine, like, I know Facebook didn't exist back then, but imagine Dr. Claw putting like a Facebook marketplace ad out or
It's
something like,
Craigslist.
need a clockmaker.
No, this is definitely Craigslist status. Facebook Marketplace, you'd be
Yeah.
able to like vet them and be like, I'm gonna look at their Facebook page. Does this person seem,
Yeah.
stable? Craigslist, he was
Craigslist
like,
super
meet
sketchy.
me here this time. Shrug.
Show up, yeah,
I
then
guess
I
I'll go with
guess you
whoever
trust
you
me and
are.
I trust you enough to do this gold heist from
Yeah.
Switzerland. Yeah. So, yeah, Gadget is obviously closing in on Dr. Claw and the clockmaker, and they know this because, again, they've got agents everywhere, they've got
Mm.
cameras everywhere. So, Dr. Claw, he calls up the clockmaker and he orders him to start executing his plan, to which the clockmaker responds, your men and I should be in and out of the bank within the hour.
Okay.
And so this obviously pleases Dr. Claw because he's like, good, we're going to get this gold, we're going to get the fuck out, and we're going to get Gadget out of here in the process too if he tries to interfere.
Great.
And Dr. Claw warns the clockmaker about this too. He's like, and remember, Inspector Gadget's on our tail, so make sure you take care of him too. And the clockmaker tells Dr. Claw that he came up with just the invention to take care of Inspector Gadget and not to worry.
Okay.
So back with Inspector Gadget now, we see him, Penny, and Brain make their way to a bank. Not sure how they knew which one to go to exactly, based off of Quimby's very brief note just saying that the gold reserves were being robbed. Not
Right, again, like the most arbitrary, like which reserve?
exactly.
The gold reserve.
The reserves. Yeah. So it's like the ones at the Bank of England,
Yeah.
the ones
And then the US.
at the Fed in America.
Yeah.
Like which ones?
Beneath
No.
the square.
The
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 period.
reserves. So they
They're
get to a
going like
bank.
Gringotts, basically. Like this is where
Yeah.
all of the wizarding money is. One
Exactly.
place.
One place, which like,
Bad economy.
never mind.
Exactly.
I was
We
like,
got
we're
an
not gonna.
economist here, and she knows.
And I
An
know.
award-winning economist, in fact.
Well, I was also trying to think like who becomes the I forget, like the financial minister in like the wizarding world after the fall of Voldemort and all of that. I was trying
Okay.
because you know how you like see where everyone becomes in the future.
Yeah.
I was like, who is that? And it's like, no, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole now. We don't have time.
No. No, no, no.
No.
But they're
Anyway,
hopefully they learned to spread the
they
wealth and
learned
not keep it all in one place.
exactly.
That's extremely dangerous.
Exactly. So, yes, they're at this bank and they meet with the mayor of this Swiss town who
Okay.
decides to give them a tour of the bank, introduce them and all that, because of course Inspector Gadget is world famous. The mayor has been expecting him to
Okay.
help save them and protect all of their gold. And this mayor has the craziest accent, Grace. I mean,
Let me give me a taste, perhaps.
I don't know that I
Even how.
can. It is almost unimitable. Like you can't, and I should say the clockmaker does too, which is what also put the whole perspective in of like, oh wait, the French
The
might
French
hate
wrote
these
this,
Swiss people.
just like the opera episode.
And then, exactly. And then remembering, and that's why I was like, wait, it's like that opera episode. They hate the Italians too. What was this whole history with the Swiss bank and with
Yep,
France?
you're like,
Oh,
what's
yes,
happening
that's
here?
right.
That's so
Exactly.
funny.
The only way I can describe this guy's accent is it's like if someone who was living in the bayou was trying to imitate a German accent.
What? Oh,
It's like it reminds
how
me
did we get
so
there?
much of Jacques' accent from Zombie Island,
Zombie,
Scooby-Doo on
yeah,
Zombie Island,
Scooby-Doo.
but also like with a German twang, which in a way kind of makes sense because like Switzerland is like Swiss, Germany, or it's French, Germany, and I don't know words. It's French, German, and Romanche, I think, are like the three like
Okay.
languages.
Dialects, yeah.
Yeah, or like dialects that like kind of all merge together in
Oh my God.
Switzerland. So
Were
it's
they
like
basically
the
being was
French Bayou Creole kind of thing
yeah, was
meets
this like
German.
the French kind of being like the Swiss and Germans are basically Hicks. Like, even though people like
Basically,
the Bayou is not like redneck or Hick, that's like a different category. Redneck and
whole
Hicks
different
do
thing.
not, yeah, speak like people do in the Bayou, but like the
No.
French were like, I don't know. They butcher our language, so they must be beneath
So we're
us.
gonna butcher theirs. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't even know if I could like it's
You do a great
I'm
Bayou
debating if
accent.
I yeah, but it's just like with the German part on it, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of like something he said. He's like, are you sure you can protect the gold wall?
It sounds more French there.
Inspector Gadget? I don't know. It's like the weirdest
It's
thing. Yeah,
insane.
it's and again, so like Bayou, French, German, because I guess the Bayou part of it is that he sounds like he has gumballs in his mouth. So to me, I'm like, whenever I think of that, I
He's
like,
got
sorry,
Swiss
Creole and
chocolate in his
Bayou
mouth.
people, but yeah, exactly. He's doing all this chocolate and he can't talk. No.
There we go. That's
See, and
better.
now
That was better.
I feel like that's just Jacques. I don't know. Anyways, you'll when you hear it, you will
Oh
also say,
no.
like, who the fuck is in the studio recording this? Like, what was their motivation?
He's
What did they
chocolate.
listen to get to this as the Swiss
Stuffed his
accent
mouth with Swiss chocolate.
and let the chocolate speak for him?
Yeah.
So, anyways, the mayor, he takes this gang down to the vault. And he explains to them that the vault door is hooked up to a very sensitive time lock. And when the clock
Okay.
on the face of the vault door strikes noon, the door unlocks and opens, which again, as a professional economist, not actually, I've got to say, this is very risky. This does not at all seem secure because
No.
it doesn't matter who's there, what
Yeah, that's my
happened.
question.
Once the clock hits noon, it just opens. Now, I'm sure you can reprogram it and everything, but like,
But
I feel like you wouldn't want something to open
it shouldn't be,
automatically.
yes, I'll say there should not be an auto schedule. This isn't
Yeah,
like watering your garden with some irrigation. Like, this is a nation's gold reserve.
exactly.
You're gonna go on vacation. You want to make sure your plants, your tomatoes
The
still get
door is just
watered.
wide open. Yeah. Like, oh
These
shit,
are
I
not the
forgot to
same.
reset the
Oh
clock.
shit.
It's not like lights or something like that. That
Yeah,
yeah,
your
you
Christmas
put it to
lights.
turn on at like 9 p.m. to make it look like someone's home. No, this isn't how this works. This is freaking gold reserves for like the Bank of Europe, basically. Like
Yeah.
Switzerland has so much gold and gives so much money to other countries.
Oh my
And this
God.
poor little this as the French say, this little Swiss hick mayor is just like, yeah, put that thing on a time lock and it will be fine. And then
This
I don't
will
even know what
open
accent
up.
that was, but yeah. So,
Oh
yes, this is
man.
not at all seem secure to me. And as we soon find out, well, anyways, like clockwork, pun
If you will.
intended, don't hate me if you will. When the clock strikes noon, the vault door swings open right in front of Gadget, Penny, and the mayor and Brain.
Mhm.
And at this point, when the vault door swings open, two things happen that shock Inspector Gadget.
One, this
First,
automatic system. Even he
exactly.
knows that's a
First,
dumb idea.
even he knows exactly. I was like, even he has enough of a brain to realize this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
No, unfortunately, no. He is just as dumb as this mayor. And well, anyways, so the door swings open and he looks at his clock and he's like, "Oh wow, it must be noon." Or he looks at his watch, but he realizes that his watch has stopped and that it needs to be fixed. And so he's like, "Oh no, I've got to go get this fixed." And
Okay.
then second, he's shocked when he hears the mayor shrieking and saying, "The gold is gone! Every ounce of gold gone! I can't believe it!" That actually, I think, was pretty spot
That
on to
is
him.
good. Yeah, you're getting more
This
German, which is
vault is
good.
impenetrable. And so they're all just like staring
It's
into
empty.
this entirely empty bank vault.
Well, I mean, seems like Claw was successful. Seems like he could just leave and the episode
He
would be
could
over.
go. You know, actually, you make a very good point. Why put a
We know
pin
why
in
he
that? Can
stayed.
we, if we remember, can we we know it's why they always stay. Never can say goodbye.
You just can't let go.
No, 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 no.
Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let
Never
you
gonna
down.
let you down. I mean, Dr. Claw has all this gold now. He's like, I can't just use this by myself. I need someone to share this
Yeah,
with.
I told the cuckoo clockmaker to make sure Gadget was taken care of. Does he need
Mm-hmm.
a new car? Does he need a new home? You did a new
What does
trench
he
coat.
need?
We have all this
Does he,
gold. We can
what does he
find out what he
need?
wants and
Does
I
he
can
want
give
some
it to
Swiss
him.
chocolates?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, Inspector Gadget, he looks at the mayor and he's like, "No worries. We'll get to the bottom of it and we'll get your gold back, mayor." And at this point, Gadget and the mayor walk out of the vault. They start to leave the bank. Penny, she tells Brain to follow Gadget while she hangs back in the vault to do a little sleuthing of her own.
Okay.
So, and also, I would like to say, since you brought up Dr. Claw there again, he has a video camera or like surveillance in this vault because we see him watching a video of them opening the empty vault from
Uh-huh.
inside the vault, though. Like he sees them staring at the
Oh,
empty vault
uh-huh.
from inside the vault, and he's just like in his lair, like, good, good.
Guess
Everything's
what thing?
like, how did he get a camera in there?
Also,
How did he get a surveillance system in a bank in Switzerland that is holding the gold reserves?
that also
This is
doesn't
an
have
inside
their
job.
own surveillance system because they don't know how the gold
Exactly.
was stolen.
Exactly.
They
So
weren't
it's
like,
like,
let us check the tapes. Oh, we don't have
oh
any
no, we don't
tapes.
have tapes. Oh man, Dr. Claw's the only one who has surveillance in here. That's crazy. Like, how, I just don't get it. Yeah, this guy,
Yeah,
he's
that
everywhere. He's everywhere.
yes. I in my next episode I have that exact same question of like, how the fuck? How you have eyes on
Yeah.
this right now?
Real like it's this is a surveillance state issue at this point. Like we've got some this is a
Yeah.
constitutional crisis. Why does this one man have more surveillance access than any police force in the world?
Anywhere. Yeah, exactly. In the entire world. Or he's just that good
And
at hacking in.
I feel like there's a real life parallel to this, but we're gonna keep it moving. So
Interesting.
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 One man with so much power of
Allegedly.
surveillance, allegedly, dot dot dot.
Allegedly.
So let's run through, because at this point, obviously, the investigation splits into two. We follow Gadget and
Okay.
Brain on one half of an investigation, and then we have an actual investigation with Penny.
Ben,
We'll
staying at
save
the
hers
scene
for
of the
the end.
crime. not leaving the
Exactly.
scene of the crime.
Not leaving immediately, exactly, without gathering any evidence or like asking any questions. Like
No
Gadget saw that the
fingerprint
vault was
dusting.
empty and was like, all right, let's get out of here and start investigating.
It's
Yeah.
empty. There's nothing to see here.
And there's nothing to see. What do you, the gold's gone. Why would I
Do you
stay here? The
see
gold's
anything?
gone.
No. Let's
No.
go.
So we have to go find it outside of here. So let's run through like the sham part of this investigation first, and then we'll save Penny's actual serious
Okay, thank
investigation
you.
for last.
Excellent. Good.
So it should come as no surprise that immediately Gadget and Brain's investigation is sidetracked. Like literally as soon as they leave the bank.
Yes.
And now we're going to come full circle with the beginning of our episode where we were talking about a band, you know, some music going on. As soon as they leave the bank, they see this fun little festive street festival going on, just right in the middle of the city square. Folks are dancing. There's a band going. They're vibing. Everyone's singing and they're all playing instruments and laughing. And it honestly is just a vibe. Like it looks like a very fun time. And Gadget, he wants to vibe out with them too, but Brain actually does as well. So Brain, I think, starts dancing first, and then Gadget's like, okay, I can do that too. And so he starts dancing, but he gets a little too into it, and he like extends his leg and kicks some of the performers, and like the music just abruptly stops, and everyone like starts screaming.
Tripping everyone. Right. Also the fact that he's bionic. I forgot about that. Like they're screaming of being like, oh no, someone's like knocking people over. Oh God, it's a robot.
Oh my God, it's a robot. We're all gonna die. Yeah. And there's a little bit of chaos. They're all frightened for a bit. But Gadget and Brain, they just kind of shake it up like, oh, sorry about that, folks. Sorry for ruining your festival. And they decide to get back to work.
Okay.
But before they go too far from this festival, Gadget then looks down at his watch to like get an update on the time. And he remembers that his watch is broken and he needs to go get it fixed.
So this is now the priority.
So he's like, before we find this gold, I got to find my watch. Like, can't solve a mystery without your watch, right? Which, I mean, I don't know, maybe in some ways, maybe, but like.
Yeah, you gotta like write down what times like you're seeing things, but that would also imply that he ever writes anything he sees down.
Exactly. I was like, oh, now you think that you need your watch to investigate?
Right, now you're gonna actually properly do protocol of an investigation now?
Exactly. At this time where he's only using proper protocol as an excuse to like take another detour to the clock shop or to the watch shop.
Put it on the company's credit card.
On their card, exactly. So Brain and Gadget head to honestly like an immaculate looking clock factory / shop type thing. Like this is it's a massive building, truly stunning, like Romanesque or Gothic for people who know like architecture, just like these buttresses and all of like a brick building, but with like these tall like steeples and kind of towers coming out of it, and just beautiful building. A little over the top though, because it also has this massive cuckoo clock atop of that clock tower. And another massive gold crest underneath the cuckoo clock with none other than the cuckoo clock maker's face on it.
Oh, okay.
So he's not a humble man either, by the way. He's like, this is my store.
This is also giving the Swiss version of Willy Wonka.
It is.
Yeah.
Inspector Gadget and the Clock Factory. And as the giant gold crest outside the building suggests, yes, this clock factory belongs to none other than Dr. Claw's new partner in crime, the cuckoo clock maker. And when the cuckoo clock maker sees Gadget coming into the factory, he is very excited because, again, he told Dr. Claw that he created this new invention that he can use to keep Gadget at bay and to make him, or to keep him from getting involved in their mystery or in their heist, their robbery.
Okay.
So he's extremely excited and welcoming to see Inspector Gadget. There's too many. There's like Dr. Claw, Inspector Gadget, all these freaking names. So he's very welcoming, and he's like, "Oh my God, Inspector Gadget, come in, come in. I'm so happy to see you." And Inspector Gadget's like, "Wait,"
sketched out by that.
Exactly. He's like, "Wait, you know my name?"
Okay, good.
And the cuckoo clock maker, yeah, right. There's our one lucid moment. Our lucid moment from Inspector Gadget. But it doesn't last long. Don't worry, because
Okay.
the cuckoo clockmaker at this point is like, oh shit, yeah, oops, I wasn't supposed to say that. So he just kind of like brushes it off and quickly pivots, starts buttering Gadget up, like, well,
Uh,
yes, of course, you're world famous. You're the famous world-renowned spy or Inspector Gadget. How could I not know your name? We love
that's
you in Switzerland.
you're a bad
Yeah.
spy if you're world renowned.
Also very true.
If
Like fact.
everybody, including a random ass crazy clockmaker, knows your name, you're not a good spy.
You're not a good spy at all. But this doesn't, two and two does not equal four to Inspector Gadget because he just starts blushing. He literally like just turns red. He's like, thank
Oh
you.
my God.
Brain, on the other hand, is looking like he's got an eyebrow raised, like
Red
really. He's like,
flags.
one, you knew his name, and two, I'm familiar with Inspector Gadget's work. He is not world renowned.
He, in
No one
fact,
would
is
ever say
perhaps the
this.
worst spy.
Yes.
And still, you should not know
He's
his
not
name.
famous. He's infamous.
Exactly.
But the cuckoo clockmaker is able to butter them up enough for both Gadget and Brain to fall for it and to
Mm.
be like, okay, you're right. Like, you're probably somewhat familiar with him. If nothing else, you read the news briefing about that festival that just got terrorized by a man named
Right.
Inspector
There's a
Gadget. So you put
wanted
two and two
poster.
together. Yeah. It's like, that's why you know who Inspector
Yep.
Gadget is.
Look for
Yeah.
Bionic Man, armed and dangerous.
Name Inspector Gadget. Big picture of him.
Uh-huh.
So the clockmaker, he gives Gadget a new watch that he says was specially made for him. That's how much of a fan he is. He's like, I'm
Okay.
so happy you're here. I literally made this just for you.
More red flags. No
And
free
Gadget,
meals.
no, exactly, like, there's no such thing as one. So Gadget happily takes the watch, and he and Brain continue on their investigation. But the clock, it strikes two right after they leave.
Okay.
And oddly enough, right when the clock strikes two, gadgets immediately begin to malfunction.
Oh, okay.
And suffice it to say, it's crazy what happens when they malfunction, but I'll just
I'm
end it by
sure.
saying that he ends up in a massive vat of Swiss cheese in a Swiss cheese factory or something.
In
Of course,
no,
very stereotypical.
in
Yes.
no world would I have been able to guess the end of that sentence. I thought you were just gonna be like, he ends up all twisted and tied up in a big knot because all of his extendable stuff gets all chaotic and like, I don't know, he like brain has to like roll him out type of thing to like get back to the car.
always keep always keep them guessing.
Bad.
No world. Like, I bet you will never guess what happens to Inspector Gadget in this. He ends up in a vat of Swiss cheese.
Truly, truly, this clickbait, you'll never guess what happens, is actually correct. I would have never guessed what happened.
And so the reason why this happens is because of the watch, of course, that he was just given by
Yes.
the cuckoo clockmaker. Because, yes, it is a very special watch that he made just for Gadget. A watch that at every single hour on the hour is programmed to just send all of gadgets to go haywire. So it
Oh,
has some
every
sort of thing that like
hour.
compromises his system.
Okay.
Yes. So obviously Gadget doesn't know this. He thinks that it was just a gift from a fanboy. So at this point, he's just like, oh, something must be wrong with me. I guess we'll have to get this figured out, Brain.
Uh-huh.
So he goes to the laundromat to get all of the Swiss cheese out of his clothes. But that
Okay.
again takes about an hour. So they're getting ready to leave the laundromat, and it is 2 o'clock on the dot now. And of course, or no, it is 3 o'clock. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's this episode is there's a lot going on in this episode, so bear with me. We've got
They all
time
are.
to balance. We've got gold reserves to balance.
We got
But anyway,
cheese to balance.
cheese. We're talking about chocolate. It has nothing to do with it, but it's just my mind's everywhere. But yeah, so they leave the laundromat again on the hour, and again, all of his gadgets start to malfunction.
Mhm.
So this happens a few more times as they continue on their investigation. But so we'll just leave it at that. They're creating chaos around town
Okay.
every hour
Yes.
on the hour,
They're
and they're
ruining
still not really
businesses,
sure what's
lives,
left, right,
etc.
center,
Okay.
literally. Meanwhile, in the real investigation, Penny is where a real investigator should be, still at the
At the
bank.
scene of the crime. Yeah.
gathering evidence. And so she uses her computer book to analyze this timer that's on the vault's lock on the door
Uh-huh.
and tries to figure out what the source of the malfunction was. So once she targets what went wrong with the like time lock, obviously something with the clock mechanism that's inside of the timer is what she's able to figure out. She senses that it must be the work of Dr. Claw.
Okay.
But Penny hilariously reads the fuck out of Claw and his men like a book, like the computer
Let's hear
book
it.
she is holding. I was like, damn, girl.
It's like
She, as
Courage's
soon
computer. Just sassy as fuck.
literally, yes, but Penny is the sassy one in this
Okay.
case because
Yes.
as soon as she sees what the malfunction was or what was tampered with, she's like,
Huh.
none of Dr. Claw's men could have handled this. He must have hired a specialist to help. Like, I was like,
These
damn, she read him
buffoons.
up and down, left and right, cover to cover. Like,
But he's like, wow, these
damn,
fucking idiots, there's no way.
no way. Uh-uh.
And two,
So she
like
just called them dumb as
Dr.
fuck and useless in one.
And the
Yeah.
fact that Dr. Claw has cameras in the vault.
And he's
Like,
watching this probably.
yeah, he like hears Penny say this. Again, he like doesn't totally probably know who Penny is, I still think, but yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, oh,
This little bitch.
yeah,
Yeah.
who's this child in here?
But to add insult to injury too, she's saying all of this while like a little 10-year-old girl, like laying on her belly, like hands cradling
Like
her
kicking her
head,
feet,
kicking her feet behind her. Yes, like flipping through this book, like
like a little
his
magazine.
men could have never done this.
These fucking
Like, damn,
idiots.
girl. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
Penny,
man,
hell
give
yeah.
him a read, Penny. Do it. So, yeah, at this point, she decides to investigate all of the clock shops in the city to see if any of them happen to be storing the gold.
Okay.
Like, in my mind, I think she had to make a few leaps and jumps there, but somehow she got to the
Yeah.
conclusion that the specialist must be a clockmaker
Yeah.
or someone who is very knowledgeable of clocks, and thus they probably stole the gold and hid it in the exact place where they work and where someone would think to find them.
You know
To
what?
find them.
Here's the thing. It makes sense for
Yeah,
Penny to
good.
assume this because one,
Uh-huh.
yes, she
She's a
knows
10-year-old girl.
she's a 10-year-old girl with a book.
Yeah.
That's the smartest she'll ever be. No, because one, she was like, okay, yes, they had to tamper with the clock. I know Dr. Claus people couldn't do this. Who tampers with clocks? Probably
Mhm.
clockmakers. But I think her conclusion does make sense of being like, and this person has the gold and it's in one single place instead of being hidden somewhere else. Because
Yeah.
look at where the Swiss bank keeps the gold reserves in
Yeah.
one single accessible
In one
place.
bank. So
Like,
she's like, I'm dealing with idiots here.
yeah. She's like, the criminals
Yeah.
probably are doing the exact same thing if this country is doing this exact same thing.
You're not wrong. She picks up on geopolitics hella quick.
Love
Like,
that.
yes, she is a genius after all.
Yeah.
So she does go from shop to shop. And while she does that, she kind of just like, she goes, so what she's doing is she's going into a clock shop and she just finds a seat somewhere, pulls out her computer book. She's pushing some buttons and everything because there's some sort
Uh-huh.
of radar or whatever in this book that
Loves a
can
radar.
detect whether or not there is a large quantity of gold somewhere on the premises.
That's pretty helpful.
Hey, I
Technology.
mean, this book can do it all. Yeah.
The actual Swiss bank better hope no one comes up with that and starts walking those streets of Switzerland.
Hey, they told us Federal Square or whatever, just get
Yep.
that book out and start waving it around. It's like, is it like a
It's
metal
like a
detector?
detector.
I don't know. But it's also kind of funny because we see her go to a few shops, and at a couple of them, like the owner of the store will come out and be like, can I help you with something?
Are you lost?
Are you lost? And she's just like kicking her feet, sitting in this chair, flipping through her book, like, nope, I'm just meeting someone here.
Waiting
And the
room.
person's like, okay, bye. So they just like leave this unattended child. Like,
Okay, trust it. Goodbye.
okay,
Please
cool.
don't
Who like
steal or break anything.
obviously like an American or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a foreigner, not from this country, a lone little child.
Unsupervised.
Exactly. But they're cool with it.
Damn, okay.
So eventually, she goes through all of these different stores and she's like running out of options on her list of clock stores to investigate.
Uh-huh.
But her final stop in this hunt happens to be You guessed it.
Excellent.
The cuckoo clockmaker's factory.
Cool.
So she walks in and, of course, determines after like pressing her buttons in her little computer book that the gold, or at least a very large amount of gold, is somewhere in this factory. And so she's like, okay, I think this is the spot. But she looks around a little bit and sees that it doesn't look like anyone is actually working there in this shop. It's like pretty empty. She's all alone. And so she starts to actually snoop around the back room and some of the like storage rooms and everything to try to look for the gold herself.
Mm-hmm.
But as is the case with literally every other place in this fictional world, as we've said multiple times in this episode, Dr. Claw has a direct video surveillance system connecting to this factory.
Yep.
And also just like, I guess another
goon doesn't steal the gold for himself. He definitely set that one up.
He needs it. Oh yeah, that's true. Anyone he's working with, like you sign that in your agreement to work with him, he will be under 24/7 surveillance by Dr. Claw. And I guess I would also just like to add, like, so in every episode, Dr. Claw is operating out of a different location.
Yeah.
In this episode, he's like randomly in this massive secret lodge in the middle of the Swiss Alps. It's like a castle almost. So I'm also thinking like, do you really need that gold, Dr. Claw? How about you just sell one of your many mansions in the Alps or in
your private estate in the Alps?
Exactly. Like what do you need this gold for? He's like, I need another mansion in the Swiss Alps.
Claw, it won't fill the hole in your heart. More castles,
only
more palaces.
Inspector Gadget can fill that.
You stop being a shopaholic. You're addicted.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it going to make things better?
So he obviously sees Penny moving about the factory and he alerts the clockmaker, very desperately, I might add, like, clockmaker, she's coming, it's happening.
She was so mean.
Like, she was so mean to me. And so, yes, he calls him to alert him of her coming. And actually, like, kind of scarily enough, says to eliminate Penny. And at this point, there's like a bit of pause and hesitation coming from the clockmaker, and rightly so, because I think he realizes that Claw has now raised the stakes from eliminating a cyborg robot man to also eliminating a 10-year-old little girl.
Child.
And so this just got a whole lot more serious. Like he kind of pauses and looks at Claw like, you want me to...
Sure?
What? But it doesn't last long because the clockmaker eventually snaps at attention and is like, don't worry, I will do whatever you say.
Damn, okay.
So Penny, while kind of sleuthing around here and investigating, has made her way near what looks like some sort of factory or like refinery conveyor belt system going on in the basement. There's always one. A villain always has to have a conveyor belt.
Yep.
And this is all down in the basement of this clock factory. So she gets a little closer look at what all is going down, and she sees men in there working, melting down gold bars and then dumping the liquid gold into these molds for like cogs and machine gears and all types of like machine parts. It's almost like they're washing the gold. They're turning it into something else. So it's like maybe not traceable, kind of ish.
Okay.
So Penny runs off to contact Brain and Uncle Gadget to update, mostly Brain, not Gadget, on what all she's found. And at this point, when she runs off to contact them, it made me realize as I was watching, like, Gadget hasn't asked one single time in this episode where Penny was.
Nope. He was just like, I'll shut the vault door. She'll be safe.
She's in the vault. Yeah. Like he left with the mayor, he saw Brain follow him, and he never once said like, Penny, go back to the hotel, or like go to the police station and hang out with Chief Quimby, or like stay here with the mayor. He just left. And Penny never told him where she was. She wasn't like, okay, Uncle Gadget, I'm gonna go like shopping, or I'll be here or there. Like they left and she just like stayed there quietly. So again,
CPS.
Worst guardian ever.
Yeah, again.
Like she's been running in and out of all these clock shops in this foreign city.
Country,
yeah.
Unsupervised, not even a clue, not even a Scooby-Doo as to where she went. Just lost.
Yeah.
Entirely. And Gadget's like, who? Oh,
Who?
Penny, yes.
Penny, Penny. Oh, do I have a penny? Let me see. Yeah, here
Oh,
you go. Here's
yeah,
a penny.
do you need it? I found it heads
You
up.
need
Oh,
do I need a penny? No, I've got a penny. You need a penny? Yeah. What do
my
you mean?
child, I don't have a child.
I know I've never had a child.
What are you talking
Nice?
about?
Nice? You mean Nice,
Nice?
France? No, this is Switzerland.
I know they sound kind of French, but that's not where we are.
Yeah. And
Someone
this
get
is
a
pretty
real adult in
dangerous
here.
because like if something was to happen to her line of communication with Brain,
Yeah, she's
no one would
done.
have any idea where she is at
Right.
all. Like that's the only
And
way she
she's
can.
always caught by like the villains at some point, which it seems like she's about to be by your facial
Yeah,
expression.
because because as she runs off to call Brain and tell her that she found all the gold, she is grabbed immediately by
Yep.
one of the clockmaker's goons, who very violently, I will add, your jaw
Oh,
will drop when you see this because my
oh
jaw
no.
dropped, violently covers her mouth mid-sentence,
Oh.
carries her away, like scoops her up and carries
Oh.
her away as
Oh.
she's muffling under like his hand covering her mouth.
Okay, so this is an actual kidnapping.
It's literal kidnapping and it's pretty
Yikes.
violent. It's not
Okay.
just like they trap her in
Right,
a
they shut the
room,
door.
they shut the door. No, they literally physically pick her up,
Oh my God.
hold
And
her,
drag her away,
and
like
drag her
suffocating her.
away.
Good, good.
Yes. And it gets worse because the
Oh
clockmaker
no.
then orders the goon to tie her to a chair and to cover her mouth. So they get a cloth and like cover her
Oh
mouth
my
and tie it around
God.
her face. She's all tied into a
This is
chair.
this is
And
nightmare fuel for children.
it really is. And I'm watching this like,
This is
how
why
did the
Stranger
show
Danger be
continue for another season?
yes.
Like, I feel like everyone would have shut their TVs off at this very moment and the
Yeah,
ratings
to
would have
be
tanked
like,
and it wouldn't have been renewed for a season two. But apparently it was. So,
especially like in the 80s when like, I don't know, crime is starting to peak and like violent crime is
yeah,
starting to peak in
like the satanic
America.
panic and all of
Yeah,
that.
within a
And
decade will be like the white van stranger danger situation. It's
exactly.
like this is the image that comes to mind for it.
Right.
Great.
This was a precursor. Yep. So this was the lesson to kids to not go sneaking around in clock
Clock
factories. You never know.
factories.
Before we were afraid of white vans, we were afraid of
Free
clock
clock
factories.
factories.
Don't let anyone offer you chocolate in a clock factory.
I
You
still
might
am to
get
this
bound
day.
and gagged and tied to a chair. Yeah.
This lesson holds true to today for me.
It's to this day. So shortly after, or sorry, once Penny is tied into a chair, by the
Ah, yes,
way,
kidnapped.
the cuckoo clockmaker says that he has just the thing that he needs to use to eliminate her. So she is also
Great.
hearing this too, that like, oh great, I'm tied to a chair,
Oh
I'm
God,
stuck, I'm
so.
trapped, and he's about to kill me. He has something
Yep.
to kill me with. So the goon then carries Penny up to what I can only describe as a torture room at the
Oh,
top of this clock tower.
okay, great.
Where they have to also go behind like the cuckoo clock that is in the clock tower as they're
Oh,
like going through this like long
classic.
circle staircase or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And as they're doing that, they pass by all of those gold gears and cogs that were made downstairs and have
Uh-huh.
now been hooked up into some sort of connected mechanism behind the cuckoo clock.
Okay.
And so the clockmaker tells her that he sees her looking at this and he's like, oh, don't worry about that. I'm just storing all this gold for a friend.
Okay. Well,
And now to this torture room. When
yes.
they enter, we see a giant like replica of the clockmaker holding this massive hammer type of
Okay. He
mechanism.
really is in love with himself.
He is. He's not a humble man at all. And he's
Yeah.
pretty crazy too. So it's not a good combination.
Yes.
And this hammer mechanism will smash anything in the target area below it once the clock hits a specific time. Of course, again,
He
everything
loves
is
doing
time
that.
related here. And
Yes.
in this case, the thing that is in the target area of the hammer is Penny.
Great.
So that is where they put her
Gets
tied up, bound and
smashed to
gagged
death.
body. Just lay her on that little table and let
Okay.
time do its thing. And you see,
Okay.
while the clockmaker is explaining all of this to Penny, because he's telling her, like, once the clock strikes, whatever, the hammer will crush you. And he also is telling her about the
Great.
gold. Like, yeah, I'm storing all this gold here for a friend, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
I'm
she's gonna
watching this
die. He
like,
can tell her whatever.
exactly. I was like,
Yeah.
he's telling her a lot of stuff. Why is he,
To keep
oh
someone
my God, he's
alive.
actually going
Yeah.
to kill this little 10-year-old
Yep.
girl. Wow. And that
Great.
belief is confirmed because he immediately after that says, once the clock strikes 5, guess who won't be alive?
What?
So, yeah. And like, I don't know if I can think of another, like a more direct mention of killing someone in a
Especially a child
cartoon.
in a
A child,
cartoon. Yeah.
especially. Like, obviously, a cartoon will never say the word like kill or murder
Yes,
or anything
murder.
like that. But he is literally saying you will not be alive in the next 15 minutes because it's not like
Right. Not being
4:45
like
or 4:50.
eliminated, take care of.
Exactly.
Like you were
Yeah, he's
alive
saying
and now you won't be.
now you won't be. You
Yeah.
won't be alive. It's like that's I
Wow.
think the closest a cartoon can get to say like someone's about to die. Someone is gonna get killed, which is
To
crazy
this
that they went
small
there
child.
and that
Yes.
it was again renewed for season 2 only a few episodes later.
Yeah, this is unhinged. Okay. Great.
Yes. So the
Just like this
clockmaker evilly
clockmaker.
laughs, just like this clockmaker, as the goons throw Penny down, or as the goon throws Penny down underneath this hammer on the table, again covers her mouth, and they leave the room, slamming the door shut behind them.
Okay.
And meanwhile, back to the fake investigation and the sham
The
investigation.
sham.
Gadget is still just on the hour every hour going
Ah,
haywire.
right.
And I think at about like the third or fourth hour that this happens, he finally decides like, okay, brain, something is wrong. I think we need to go back to the clockmaker to see if he can fix me or maybe to see if the watch is the issue because I think it started after that. But either
Yeah.
way, the clockmaker seems to be able to build things and maybe he can
Yeah.
just like take a look at me and inspect me, whatever. I don't know. So they're making their way to back to the clock factory, and Dr.
Uh-huh.
Claw, of course, surveillance state, notices this. He sees Gadget approaching, and he alerts the clockmaker to get Gadget's or to eliminate Gadget as well.
Okay.
So again, the clockmaker welcomes Gadget into his shop and offers him whatever he needs. He's like, "Oh my God, like what is it? Is something wrong?" And Gadget
Mm.
tells him, "Yeah, like something's wrong. Like my gadgets are going all haywire. I was wondering if you could fix it." And the clockmaker is like, "Oh my God, it would be an honor. Like, again, I love you so much. You're so
It's
famous.
a
Like,
dream come true.
the Inspector Gadget wants me to fix him. Here, let me take you to my special workshop just for
Okay.
you."
More red flags.
So the clockmaker pretends to play stupid while Gadget's explaining these malfunctions to him, like, "Oh, wow, so strange. Just everything's going haywire? Crazy. Do tell
Weird.
more." And
Uh-huh.
meanwhile, as Gadget's explaining it, the goon is also strapping Gadget into a device, a
Okay.
special device, in his special workshop.
Hmm.
A very gold device with like gears and stuff and everything
Okay.
towards the top of the clock. No, at the top of the clock tower, I would say. Something,
Interesting.
yeah, near
Okay,
there.
interesting. Familiar.
And Brain is watching all of this, like a little getting pretty sus. Like,
Good. Good
first of
boy.
all, that's a lot of gold. Those gears
Yeah.
are very gold.
Well,
That's
this gold's pretty
interesting. I've never
warm as if
seen
it was recently
just
molded.
melted and molded. Yeah,
Interesting.
interesting. And it's very shiny. Like it looks like
Is
it's
that,
never been used
does that say
before.
property
That's
of Germany on here?
S&B.
The Reich? Interesting.
Does that say Reichsbank on it? Does that say
Hmm.
Mussolini? Come
Interesting.
from Como, Italy? Came from Como, Italy? Interesting. And also, he's just watching the way that Gadget's being like strapped into this mechanism, these
Effect.
gold gears and cogs. There's no reason of
Yeah.
like hiding it anymore. Obviously, that whole
Yeah.
gold shit that Penny saw. And at this point, Brain's like, they're hooking him up. One arm is way over there. One leg is way over
Oh
there on
no.
that gear. His head's way up there.
Oh
Why are
no.
they hooking him up this way?
Mm.
And then Brain realizes, oh no, they're turning these gears on.
Oh
Gadget's
no.
body is starting to like
The stretch.
separate and stretch even more.
Oh no.
And Brain now starts like pantomiming, like, "Oh my God, Gadget, you like this? They're trying to kill you. They're doing something. They're doing something."
Uh-huh.
And Gadget just looks at him like, "Oh yeah, no, 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 that's fine, Brain. You go ahead. Just make sure you clean up after yourself." Which is so funny because Obviously, we know what he's implying. Like, he can't understand Brain, so we
Yeah.
realize that he thinks that Brain's saying, like, Gadget, I gotta go outside. I gotta
I
use
gotta
the
go
bathroom.
outside.
Yeah, and Gadget's like, fine, just clean up after yourself. And Brain has literal like offense in his face. He's like, as if
Bitch.
I wouldn't. First of all, that's not what I'm saying. And second of all, as if I wouldn't clean up after
Yeah,
myself
I'm
after I
not
use the
an
bathroom.
animal.
I'm a man of class.
Come
Rur, rur,
on.
rur. Yeah. So Brain just rolls his eyes and goes off to find help. Like, all right, well, Gadget obviously doesn't understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
goodbye, I
so
guess.
let me fucking go. I think he thinks that he can go like somewhere quiet to call Penny or something.
Oh yeah, like
But
not
while
right in
he's
front of the
making
clockmaker.
exactly, but while he's making his way back down into the shop to find somewhere to call her, he actually hears her panic screams
Oh
in a
my
nearby
God.
room. Yeah, because she's managed to just like wiggle around enough to get the cloth to like fall off of her face.
Uh-huh.
And so now she's just screaming for dear life, like,
Oh my God.
help,
That's so
help.
scary.
And this is at like maybe 4:59, I would say. So he's got about a minute, or
Classic.
she's got about a minute until she dies.
Until she's
So Brain
smashed to
rushes,
death.
exactly. Brain rushes in to untie her. And literally, right as the clock hits 5 p.m., he scoops her up and the hammer just slams down on the platform that she was on. Like,
Great.
yeah, she would have.
Great. She would become a
For
pancake.
the this is a deep cut. Grace and I, before we were recording, we're talking about the substance. So in my mind,
She
I was
becomes
like,
a blob.
she would have looked like Sue at the end of the substance.
Just a
Yes.
blob with a face, if
Yes.
that.
And like all of the goo coming out of
Just
her.
seeping out
Yes.
onto this
Seeping
platform.
out.
Wow, that's insane.
So thankfully, though, they Brain saves her in the nick of time, and the two are able to run off to save Gadget. But
Okay.
remember, like I said, the clock just hit 5, and Gadget never took that watch off. I guess the cuckoo clockmaker was a little
Oh,
too in the moment to remember that, like, on the hour, some shit's
it'll
gonna
have fun
happen with
shit.
Gadget's gadgets. So they run up there and they see that Gadget's malfunctions have already begun, and they're like utterly destroying the clockmaker's gears and
Oh, okay,
machinery.
good.
Like, which, yeah, so unintended consequence, it's actually working.
Uh-huh.
And thus, though, since I said that this clock and all of this is attached to like the clock tower, him destroying the gears
Uh-huh.
attached to the tower is also destroying the overall like support of the building and the infrastructure of the whole
It's another
building.
avalanche.
Yes, literally
About to
of
happen.
bricks. I don't know what's worse, equally
Yeah.
bad, perhaps.
Yes, both
And
bad.
so Penny is like dodging falling bricks and shit to like untie Gadget
Oh
from
my
all of these
God.
gears. And the three of them are able to make an escape while the building is literally crumbling and falling apart.
Great.
And so the solid gold gears fall from the top of the building and land on this like Swiss street in front of the factory,
Uh-huh.
just as Chief Quimby actually pulls up with a group of Swiss police.
Okay.
And Gadget, Penny, Brain, and the clockmaker all kind of like climb their way out of this rubble.
Rubble.
Yeah, like all like clearly shaken and probably concussed, like their
Yeah, for
heads
sure.
are all
There's
kind of
so
like
many
bobbing.
concussions in this show.
So many broken bones. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Quimby immediately swoops in and arrests the clockmaker, realizing that the gold gears that just literally fell in front of him were obviously made out of the gold from the Swiss reserves.
Yeah.
So Quimby thanks Gadget for a job well done and says his investigation was the work of a true genius. Wow. Super sussly winking at Gadget as he says this. He's
He
like,
fucking knows.
true genius. Yeah.
Glance at Penny, glance at Penny.
He like low key did. I was like, bro, we know you lying. We know
But
you
we
know Penny
know
did all
you
this.
know. We
Yeah.
know
I was
you
like,
know, and you know that we know that you
that we
know.
know that you know that Penny also
That Penny
knows that
knows.
Gadget knows nothing.
Yeah, Gadget is the only one who doesn't pick up on this.
Who
He's like,
has no
"You got
knowledge.
something in your eye?
Yeah. You good? You
Debris?
crying, Chief?
You
Yeah.
cry.
Watch
I'm
out for that
fine. You don't have to
debris.
cry.
Yes. And yeah, and so that's the end. I guess there's just like two other little notes.
Uh-huh.
One, something like related to what you said earlier too. We don't know what happens to Dr. Claw at the end of this. Like he's not caught, obviously, that much
Yeah.
we know.
Well, you usually see
But
him
the
fly
last that
away.
we see him, yeah, we don't see him fly away. The last we see him is when he warns the clockmaker that Gadget is approaching the factory. After that,
Mm.
like we don't know. He might still be in the Swiss Alps just chilling.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's probably why they didn't show him fly away because he's like, no, I'm at my vacation home. I'm
Yeah.
not
I'm at
going
my
anywhere. They
chalet.
don't know where I am.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I was gonna, well,
They don't know
actually, I
where
was
I
about to
am.
point out, like, usually we only see him fly away when he's like on site, like,
Hmm.
when he was like at the opera or at the circus. But yeah, you're right. He's
That's
like,
such a good point.
I'm hundreds of miles away in the middle of the Alps.
That is
I,
such a good point
I'm not
because
going
that
anywhere.
happens in my next episode too. And I
Yeah.
brought that up. I was like, again, we don't know what happens to Dr. Claw, but
Yeah,
it's
he just
because
turns it
he's
off.
nowhere near. Exactly. He does.
He just gets his
He
skis
just
on.
turns,
He just turns the screen off.
puts his skis on, puts
Skis
little
on.
cute skis on Mad Cat.
Oh my
He's like,
God, on Mad
be
Cat.
still my heart. Be still my
Yes.
heart. Be so cute. Yeah. And he's like,
100%.
okay, well, that didn't work. Guess I'll go
All
skiing.
right.
He's like
Sounds good.
drinking a
Yeah.
Chianti, like by the fire.
Yeah, like he is like this was just an afternoon business meeting and like my life is
It's
none
over.
neither better nor worse due to it.
Yeah.
It could have
Do you
been an
see the
email.
chalet I'm in?
Yeah.
Life is obviously good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Um,
I've actually paid some of those Swiss cops to pocket a handful of those gears because they're
yeah.
going to have to remelt it and re-put it back into gold bars to figure out how much is there or not. They'll just send them to me. I still win.
Exactly. I'll still win. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other note is that I'm pretty sure Gadget still has this watch on from the clockmaker, and he has
It's
not
a nice
realized that
watch.
it is the source of his malfunctioning. It is. But he's gonna need to get rid of it because until Penny figures out, like we know Penny's
So
gonna have to be the
Penny's
one
gonna
to
do
figure it
this.
out.
Yes.
But until she does, like he's just gonna keep every hour like destroying every single thing around him. And like, I don't know, like Penny's smart, but I'm not sure that she would know immediately that that's
Right.
what's causing it, because she doesn't even know that Inspector Gadget
She
got a
hasn't.
watch. She just spent
You
the
know
whole
what?
day by herself. She
She'll
doesn't
probably
know.
scan it with the calculator book thing and
That's
it'll be
true.
like ding
Yeah.
ding ding.
Ding,
And she'll
ding,
be like,
ding.
okay,
This
great.
watch is creating this error. Yeah.
Yep. And then she'll just
Yeah.
rip it off. So yeah, it'll
Exactly.
take her a couple times. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, she'll probably just scan
She'll
them
get
with
there.
whatever crazy radars. And yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
she'll
She'll
probably
get there
pocket it for
eventually.
future use. For she doesn't know what yet, but she'll definitely harness it as a
She'll
weapon.
use it. There will be a use for it. Exactly.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Wow.
And that's
Great
the end.
job. I
Thank you.
cannot wait to see this clockmaker.
He's something. He's someone. Let me tell you. I will say though, I mean, not to set the expectations high, but you should be more excited to see the mayor.
Oh
He's
yeah.
he is something.
This combo I'm
Uh,
excited for.
yeah,
For the
clearly these
depiction,
writers
the
and
French.
producers, yeah,
Yeah.
they had a positive depiction of the Swiss here.
Yes, of
They
course.
really like Swiss people, I can
They
tell.
love the best friends. Wow. I'm very excited to
But
watch it. Great work.
thank you, thank you. But until next week, who should they tell about this podcast?
I think you should tell an economist about this
Nice.
podcast. Hey, Alexis, you ever heard
Hey,
Saturday Morning Mysteries? You should
I
listen.
think I have.
Yeah,
Isn't
just
that
check
the one
it
hosted
out.
by an economist?
Yeah, you would love it. Actually, The
Wow.
Economist is the sponsor as well.
The
Like the
economist.
magazine, as is the Wall Street Journal. Main
You
sponsors.
imagine and we're like the cover image of the next month's The Economist magazine or something, like
Yeah. Eh,
with like Inspector Gadget
Forbes.
cutouts. Yeah,
Yeah. All
exactly. I see this
sponsors.
happening. Wall Street Journal, all of them.
Front
Give us
page,
a call.
baby.
We know things about stocks and bonds and dividends and
Money and
such.
business
Yeah,
and money and gold.
exactly.
After you
And such.
and such and
just
things
just follow everything with and
and
such and
such
yeah,
and so
shallow and
allegedly.
pedantic.
Indeed, shallow and pedantic. After
Indeed.
they tell an economist, who else should they tell about the show?
They should tell a clockmaker.
Nice. Good.
And there was a cool name, a cool official name for a clockmaker, and I don't remember what the name of it is, but
Great.
it's
Put it
that.
in the comments for us. Let us know.
Exactly. Yeah, it's one of them, tell them.
Perfect.
Cool. Until next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.